Hi everyone and welcome to episode 19 of the ITSM crowd, which today is all about people's ITSM journey. So we're looking at how people started working in service management, a typical service management career path, if there is such a thing, and we're also going to be talking about a new initiative from ITSMF UK, which is the Professional Service Management Framework. So the first thing I'm going to do, as ever, is introductions. So if we start from the left-hand side on my screen, Andy, if you'd like to say hello.
Yeah, I was wondering whether I'm left or right. So, hi everyone. I'm Andy or Andrea Kiss. I work for ISG as a senior consultant, and I'm part of the ITSM crowd for a while now. And I've done a hangout or two, I can't remember exactly. And I really look forward to share my ITSM journey, which I always think it's quite unique. But when I talk with lots of people in ITSM, I realize it's not unique at all.
Thank you very much. And Barclay?
Hi, I'm Barclay Rae. I've been in ITSM for about 30 years, one way or another, and yeah, lots of different things. But today, really talking about that whole journey thing. I think one of the things that's interesting, and has always been interesting to me, is that everybody has a different background and different experience to bring. So it's a real kind of mixed bag.
Thank you. Bassab, have we got you with us? Okay, so Michelle, if you want to say hello.
Yeah, hi everybody. Michelle Major Goldsmith. I'm currently living in Australia, working for a company called Kinetic IT. 25 years in the IT industry, and as Andy's mentioned, I've done a few of these hangouts, so really good, and looking forward to this one.
Thank you very much. And Randy?
Yeah, I'm Randy Steinberg here in the United States. Work for a company called Concurrency as well as ITSM Strategies Incorporated. And I've been doing IT service management work at many different companies around the world, probably for about a good 25 to 30 years. It's an area that I'm very passionate with, and one of the things I've been amazed is really how many different companies I've gotten into to basically get into their IT organizations and help them with many kinds of service management related issues and problems.
Fantastic, thank you. Bassab, can you hear us now? Okay, so my name's Claire Agutter. I'm the lead tutor for ITSM Zone. So we provide online training for service management professionals, and it's one of the big questions in the industry at the moment is really, what does a service management professional look like? So if you go back a few years, you needed an ITIL foundation or maybe an ITIL V2 managers, but now the industry is moving in lots of different directions. We've got things like DevOps, Agile, Lean, and people are coming and asking, what do I need to support my service management career? That could be people who are at the start of their career, or it could be people who are actually already very experienced in service management but are wondering what skill sets that they need to add. So we wanted to start today by talking to Barclay Rae. Now, Barclay has a number of different roles, but one of the roles he holds is as Chief Executive of the UK arm of the IT Service Management Forum, or ITSMF. ITSMF has been around for many years and acts as a user group for people who work in service management. So if you are looking for networking opportunities in your own country, the ITSMF is a fantastic place to start. So Barclay, ITSMF UK has launched something called the Professional Service Management Framework, or PSMF. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, please?
Okay, yes, thanks, Claire. I guess one of the things that's always been a problem or a challenge for those of us working in service management is just how we define our career and our industry, our profession, with any confidence, or I suppose pride is one of the words, because really it is one of those things where if you ask or somebody asks you what you do, you do have a bit of a problem in explaining it. You can say, well, we work in IT, we do this, and then people say, oh, can you fix my PC? Or if you try and describe it more in business terms, they get confused. And for many years, I've struggled with that myself, to the point where one group of people I used to work with, they eventually said to me, "Oh, we think you're just a spy." And I just kind of went, "Okay, I'm a spy. That's it. That's what I do." But I think it's important because most other careers we have this sense of professionalism and confidence and pride in what we do. And we should be able to articulate that. I think we should be able to define it and recognize it in a way that is more than just about I'm a technical person or I've got a particular badge. So that's what we've been working on, and we've launched for our members, which is it's free to members, although anybody can access it. We're giving out temporary membership so people can look at it. But it's there for people to use as a framework that is about the much bigger sense of person, the leviathan of what it is to be a service management professional. So much more around other skills than just knowing about processes or being a technician. What's your management skills like? What's your communication skills like? What's your understanding of your own industry? What's your organization's place in that industry? How organized are you? All the things that we know that that actually make you successful, not just being, well, I understand what configuration management is, or I know how to, configure a server. These are key parts, but actually it's much more than that. And I think that's what we're trying to recognize and say, well, look, there's a number of different other areas that represent professionalism in service management, and we should be proud of that. The other thing, just sort of finally on this, is I suppose that there is that recognition that in IT we need to have more we need to be more broadly skilled in other areas rather than just technology. So again, we need to have a way of saying what is it to be a professional, and how can we work and aspire towards that without just saying, well, I've got these badges, that's one thing, that's great, but what actually is it about my capability and the competency that I have that defines me and allows me to say, yes, I am professional, and other people recognize me as professional. So that's the kind of conversation we've started with this thing called PSMF. We're looking forward to. We've got a huge amount of interest in it. Lots of people already using parts of it, and many others talking to us about how they can be involved and be recognised as part of it.
So, where can people find out information about PSMF if you want to go in and read some more?
Okay, so there's information on our website, itsmf.co.uk/PSMF. There's plenty of stuff there that takes you into it. If you're a member, you can then go and access more information, or as I say, if you're not, you can contact us and we'll give you a temporary membership so you can access it. We've also got some content that I've passed to you, Claire, that you can make available to people after this. But also, look out for us on Twitter and LinkedIn and so on. ITSMF UK. Contact us if you want to know more about it. It's something that we're seeing as an umbrella, not another framework, but as a quite simple, light touch framework that can incorporate other areas like ITIL and DevOps and BRM. And things like Sophia, which is more about skills. All those things are part of it, and what we're saying is this is how we recognise what it is to be a real professional in the area that we work in. So take a look at itsmf.co.uk and you can find out some more there.
Thank you. So we've got, this is an initiative that's been launched by ITSMF UK. We've got Randy from the US on the call, and we've got Michelle who's based out in Australia. Is this something that you see having an international impact?
I mean, from my view, I think absolutely. This is an area that's a big issue where 95% plus of everybody I meet always learns on the job. And there really isn't a lot of guidance and skill sets. And I always point to the ITIL book, saying that's probably the one source where most of the skills that you can at least find are at least in there somewhere. But I think what Barclay's done is a tremendous thing, which is kind of expanding that beyond just the core knowledge of processes and service management to what is it really like to be a professional. And what kinds of skill sets are you really looking for? So I think it's a tremendous thing to have out there, and I think not only service management people can look at that, but probably human resource people as well that are hiring at various companies around the world.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Randy, and for me, it's certainly got some global appeal, so it would be good to know how accessible it's for the chapters of itSMF, and I'm sure you're sending it out there as well.
So one thing that struck me when I started reading PSMF, because it does outline core competencies, different areas where we need to develop our skills as service management professionals. One thing that struck me is the fact that very few people that I talk to in service management actually started out wanting to work in service management or saw it as their career goal. And I thought it might be helpful for the people who are watching if maybe as a panel you could share your journeys into service management and what maybe helped or didn't help you as you developed in your own careers. Andy, I don't know if you want to kind of share how you got to where you are.
Well, it's a funny story, really. I had nothing to do with IT at all. I studied to become a journalist. That was my plan. I said to myself, I will never ever work in an office. Definitely don't do 8 hours a day. I will be out on the field. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to teach as well. And like every fresh, person out of university, you were chasing your dreams. And I was, looking for opportunities in my profession. Meanwhile, there was a student loan to be paid. There was life to live, and I didn't mean any luxuries. So when I've seen an advertisement for a job in the Metro paper back in Budapest, which said they're looking for people with language skills and basic computer skills, I spoke with my mother, and she said, yeah, why not? Just send your CV in because you need to make some money. And I went along to an interview. I didn't know what to expect, and I got hired. I was most surprised myself, and I became a service desk analyst, supporting international clients in English, in German, in Hungarian. So it was a trilingual service desk, and this is where I first met with the whole setup of ITIL, working with incidents and recognizing what does it mean. It didn't mean anything to me. I just sat there, took a phone call, somebody had an issue. I was trying to fix it as much as possible. I got my training, and then I started to enjoy it. It was, I think, my people skills coming from the fact that, I was studying to become a journalist, to present, to be in the front of people, to be able to talk with people. These type of soft skills which led me in my ITSM journey to where I am today. It was no technical skills, which I have none of it, which led me to this journey. So after the service desk, I just went through the almost usual type of layers and steps of working as a service desk team leader, as an incident manager, specializing in critical incident management. I was a service manager, service delivery manager, and then whoops, from one moment to another, I found myself becoming a consultant, still focusing on service management topics. One thing I do want to go forward with is I never limited myself to be an IT service management professional, and I don't really like calling myself an IT service management professional. So my journey and my aim is to look at service management from a point of view of not limiting to IT, which then brings along the fact that it might be technical.
And that seems to be a very common experience, I think, is that people have brought soft skills into a service management career rather than a technical background. There's quite a few people in service management who seem to have come from maybe a customer service background or business relationship management. It's interesting to see, I guess, but then as we move to things like DevOps and maybe some of the T comes back into IT, those conversations can be more difficult. Michelle, your service management journey's taken you from the UK to Australia. Talk us through your career.
I mean, a little like Andrew, in as much as I got into it in a strange way. I'd originally done a psychology degree, and I stayed at university on the promise of a free master's course, which they were offering to women at the time. And the master's course was in computer-based information systems. I left university as the worst programmer in the world. But I had a master's degree and decided that IT was the way to go. So I was really lucky. I mean, a bit as Andrea said, I sort of went into an organisation as a help desk analyst, and that's where I started, as it was at the time. And I think I was just lucky that I worked for an organisation that were quite forward-thinking in service management. And we didn't get it all right, but they certainly were talking about ITIL sort of 20 plus years ago, and sort of I was consumed by this idea. I thought it was fantastic. I really loved it. And that's really, for me, what spearheaded it. And, you know, as we've said, sort of progressed then through the career path in various operational roles in ITSM. But, you know, I share really the view that I think it's about people skills. It's about, I think, more and more it's really important that people have communication skills, the ability to get into customers and business rather than that technical capacity, because that stuff goes out of date.
It does. And Randy, tell us about your career.
I actually started out in music, of all things, and was a professional musician and writer, and got into teaching music at the local high schools here in the United States. That turned out to be not such a great experience, and somehow I had many friends that were getting into IT at the time, and it was an exciting field. It was new. They were, if you could spell IT, you were being asked to interview or even get on an airplane to fly to an interview. And so I kind of jumped into it with no real vision. I thought I would be in a room pushing buttons or something and being kind of modern with that. Of course, none of that ever happened. But through luck, basically ended up with a company, Arthur Andersen, in the IT area, the IT consulting area, on the infrastructure side, and only got placed there because that's where their management put me. And that included, you know, here's a big mainframe machine, go figure out how to run it and operate it, with no training, no skills or anything. So I stumbled my way through that. Over time with that, as I got into many different companies and clients with them, I found so many issues and problems around the operation of IT that at some point in my career, for some strange reason, I just decided that's what I want to do. And over time, I actually wrote a number of methodologies on how to operate and run IT, and about 1998 or 9, somebody, at that time I was working for IBM, and somebody in IBM say, hey, there's this thing called ITIL that's been published, and this is when ITIL v2 had come out, and you might be interested in looking at this and seeing if that might be of interest. And when I saw how it was written and packaged, I thought that's really a great thing. It was one of the first things I saw, which is really something that sprouted out of the industry. And I said, why not, and just kind of joined onto that. And I've just been in the IT service management ITIL space ever since, almost full time at this point. And basically, my goal here is the biggest pain I see in so many companies is they waste so much money on things that have to do with IT operations. And there's a big concern right now because in most companies, over 70+% of their IT budget is going to non-discretionary spend for infrastructure management types of things. And when you combine that with all the waste that you see in there, I just basically said this is something I want to address, something I can help fix, and struck out in many different ways, including starting my own company at various points to basically get involved with this, try to add to the knowledge set of people that are out there. When you look at where IT is today with cloud computing and virtualization and DevOps, the need for this kind of a thing is more acute than it ever was before. You just can't survive without it, and I'm a very strong believer for that. And so any initiatives that kind of push that forward, I'm always trying to get involved with, and really passionate in terms of trying to help shape and move an industry as best I can in my own way.
Thanks, Randy. And I think this is, picking up on what Andy said as well about, are we IT service management professionals? Are we service management professionals? In some forums at the moment, particularly on the DevOps side of things, people are asking, do we need service management at all? So the profession is definitely evolving, and I think this is a good time for ITSMF UK to start to kind of shape and define the profession. What maybe, for all of you on the panel, what helped you through your own career journeys? Was there some training that helped? Were people that helped? Was it mentoring? What were the things that helped you progress in your own careers?
From my perspective, just quickly, I've been lucky enough to be in so many companies in so many different areas. I think just the simple being out there and seeing so many different things has just helped with at least learning and experience and what's there. Most of the time at this point I can get into a company and usually whatever issues they're going through, I could at least think of 4 or 5 other companies that probably had similar problems. And the other thing I think I was very fortunate with was working with some very good people at Arthur Andersen in my early days. I can think of some managers and very experienced people that were just very good at what they did. And I think the combination of that too, it was just very fortunate and lucky for me to kind of expand and grow over so many years.
For me, very similar. I don't know if you can hear me for a second. I wasn't sure if my picture is frozen or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me it was very similar. I count myself as one of the EDS alumnus. I met so many people throughout my career, and even still now, when we start to talk about how and where did you start your journey into IT in general or service management, it is through EDS. I still think EDS was a very good company to work for. That was my first job in the service desk, and this is where I learned how to work properly, in what does it mean to have a knowledge management, to recognize different tool sets, to support different, and especially working in a multilingual service desk, you have to recognize how to speak with different customers from different countries, what mannerism you use, different issues, different situations, yet it is all very similar. So for me, working for a good company, the trainings provided, so my first ITIL trainings, my first knowledge trainings, the mentoring, I think EDS was very good for mentoring. I still meet people who were my mentors when I first started. I ended up working as a consultant for a client in Belgium. And in the client office, I met one of my old mentors from the time when I was in the service desk. And it was a fantastic reunion. The other thing which also helped is the classic, setup of different trainings, the ITIL trainings, the different service management trainings, but also the experience, the hands-on experience, being there, working for different companies, seeing what works well, but also seeing what does not work well at all. And you can learn a lot from that. And you can almost bring it forward to the next stage and say, I know how it can be when things are good, and I'm not going to let the bad continue, and you do your best, like Randy said, to continue to improve, to make sure that you contribute. And this is one of the reasons why I enjoy being a consultant after all this hands-on journey, is because I can step into any situation and I think, oh, I know exactly why things are how they are, because I've been there on the operational side. I've seen when things are bad, and I see how it should be. So that's my addition to that.
Yeah, and I do think some of the best service management people that I've worked with have done what you've described, and they've maybe moved jobs quite frequently, or they've had a job in a large company that's given them exposure to lots and lots of different interpretations of service management, and that does allow them to kind of see what works and what doesn't. Michelle and Barclay, is there anything else you'd like to add about what's kind of helped you along in your careers?
I think I'd echo some of the statements that everybody else has made. I mean, I started with RAC Motoring Services in the UK, and they very much were ambassadors of ITIL, so we all got ITIL training. And now moving over to Australia, again, I'm in an organisation that very much has been sort of pioneering ITIL stuff for a long time. So training is absolutely key, but you know, very much as everybody else has said, I think it's meeting fabulous people along your journey. You learn so much from working with different types of people, different cultures, different environments, that it's almost, you know, and Randy's alluded to it, you go into a situation and invariably you've seen it before in some shape or form, which gives you the skills, I guess, to do the job. So training's great, but it's not the only thing. I think the enhancement of skills comes from that practical application and being in different circumstances.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Barclay, have you got any final thoughts you'd like to add? You've got your mute at the moment, Barclay.
You hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. Yeah, I think it does come down to experience, and particularly who you work with at a kind of formative periods. You know, I think everybody's mentioned, you know, having good mentors and good managers that they work with. I certainly was very lucky with that. I do think that, and it's a common theme. I mean, like Randy, I was a professional musician as well, but I also worked. I worked in various places before I ever went anywhere near IT. I was in my mid-late 20s before I worked in IT, and I was quite shocked when I first went into IT how poor it was in terms of culture and, you know, just being aware, customer awareness, all those kind of things. It's kind of stuck with me right from the very first job I had, that there was no focus on the customer, there was no focus on the outcome, and that helped me to move quite quickly through the organisation, because I could see things that other people just, and it wasn't because I was any kind of visionary, it was just because I'd done other things, I'd been other places, I'd understood how organisations work, and I think that really is important, that you have a depth of it. The thing about service management is that it's not just a single track of knowledge or skills. It's very much a hybrid of a number of different things, where you do need to understand organizations, you need to understand people, you need to understand communications, management, leadership, and technical stuff. So it's actually quite a formidable number of skills that you need to have, and you don't just get that overnight. You don't just get it by going on 1 or 2 courses. You get it from, you know, hard experience of actually being there and doing it, and, you know, getting your fingers burned. I have done that many occasions. I've done stupid things with, you know, when I could afford to get away with it. When I worked in when I was an MVS operator, I screwed up all sorts of things and didn't get sacked. But I learned a lot from doing that, and I suppose the challenge these days for people is they probably don't have that luxury of being able to do that quite so freely without it having a big impact on them.
I agree, and I think it's one of the nice cultural things that we're picking up now in IT, coming from the agile thinking, is this idea that failure is okay, and it's not an opportunity to blame people, it's an opportunity to learn as an organisation. So that brings us to the end of our time today. This is a huge topic, and I think it's possibly one we'll revisit in the future. At the moment, the IT service management profession doesn't have a single career path, and people come from all sorts of different backgrounds. Lots of professional musicians, it would seem, which is very interesting. But certainly, what the ITSMF are doing with the professional service management framework is going to help individuals and organisations across the world start to understand the kind of skills that can support them in their career. So we will be putting a blog about this hangout onto the ITSM Zone website, and in there I'll put the content that Barclay's shared with us so that you can learn a little bit more about PSMF. And again, it's on the ITSMF website as well. If you've got any questions that you'd like to put to the panel from today's discussion, if you use the hashtag ITSMCrowd on Twitter, we will pick that up and we will get back to you on those. And I should also plug from a mentoring perspective as well, with our ITSM Zone training, you do get a free mentor session, and everybody who's been on the panel today is one of our mentors, and as you can see, they've got years of experience and a lot of value to add. So it just remains for me to say thank you very much to our panel today. Thank you, Andy, Barclay, Michelle and Randy, and thank you also to Basab, who did keep trying to join but unfortunately had some technical difficulties. Thank you very much, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.